Stupid robot, fight like a chicken. No, wait, that's not it. This is Berzerk, released in 2023 for the Atari 7800 Pro system. Yes, they made a new version of Berzerk for Atari 7800. By which I mean they took an old homebrew version of Berzerk that originally sold on Atari Age, gave it spiffy new official packaging, and sold it online. Which I am more than fine with, quite honestly. The question is Bob DiCrescenzo fine with that? Is he getting a cut for all his old stuff suddenly getting a new shine, or did you just give him a t-shirt for his efforts? Or perhaps a booking at that Atari hotel that's probably never going to happen? Somebody's probably going to have to look into that, and that's probably not going to be me. Anyway, this is indeed Berzerk, the latest and greatest edition, well, not really, but just roll with it, of the classic Stern Electronics arcade game where you control a little guy in this labyrinth of death, shooting robots before they shoot you, exiting rooms before evil Otto comes along to chase you around, and try not to touch the walls because they will kill you. Fortunately, they will also kill any robots stupid enough to run into them, so use that to your advantage as well. Berzerk on 7800 is very much similar to Berzerk on 5200. Which in turn is similar to Berzerk on 2600, except everything looks a little nicer, but otherwise the core gameplay remains the same. Both you and your robotic adversaries can shoot in any 8 directions, and since this was originally an Atari 7800 homebrew from the Atari Age community repackaged for modern audiences, such as it is, Berzerk also includes voice synthesis that was a highlight in the arcade game. Fairly mechanical sounding, but you're dealing with robots that are trying to kill you, so in that context, it's fine. What this version of Berzerk lacks, however, is a difficulty select. You can play either a one-player game or a two-player game, with the latter allowing for either alternating play, cooperative, or competitive modes. But for anyone who enjoys toning things down to a tolerable level or bumping things up to nigh impossible levels, tough shit. You have the one default skill setting, you start on what is considered to be level 1, and you will like it. And yes, Berzerk on default is generally a tough game. Your guy moves slowly, robots are almost relentless in their attacks, and evil Otto shows up almost immediately as soon as you breathe in air. But again, you could shoot in 8 directions, you could have 2 shots on screen at a time, and of course, there's the rare glitch in robot AI where they'll kill themselves running into walls or other robots, so you've got that sliver of hope going for you. Otherwise, Berzerk can be a tough game, but every inch forward is a step further towards greatness, or something to that extent. Berzerk on 7800 is perhaps the cleanest looking of the Atari ports. The player is this tiny stick figure, the robots are somewhat slender, evil Otto is at its most smoothest, circularist, and the walls are... well, there's nothing to improve on with the walls, they're still just solid lines. On that same note, sound also sees a somewhat marginal update over previous versions. Sound effects are only slightly nicer sounding, but still somewhat stock quality for the system, and the voice bites are as consistently robotic as past versions, with the only difference being maybe occasional changes in pitch. Robot voices will talk in different pitches at times, though I'd imagine that was in prior versions. I'd have to go back and play those, by the way, but I think that's a new thing. Maybe, kinda, sort of. Overall, Berzerk on the Atari 7800? Well, if you've played Berzerk on Atari 2600, or Berzerk on 5200, or Berzerk on 400, or 800, or Atari XGES, or Berzerk on the Atari 64, or 6464K, or whatever, well then you've played Berzerk on 7800. Granted, it's a nicer looking version of the game with gameplay that stays true to the source material, and really, I welcome any excuse to add a new game to the 7800 library, but the reality is that if you've played one version of Berzerk on Atari, you've pretty much played them all. And Berzerk on 7800 doesn't really offer anything that you can't find on the lesser versions. Still, more Berzerk is never a bad thing unless you simply don't care for the game, in which case, well, there's not much I can do for you there, is there?